Hey guys, how's it going? It's been a while since we last spoke. My name is Tim Kong Art and I'm a freelance illustrator, and I hope you're all staying safe out there, especially during these really trying times. Today I want to talk about personal work. So first of all, I'll just talk about what is personal work. Well, personal work is essentially what it sounds like. It's basically your own artwork. Your own artwork that is completely free from external influence, the direction from somebody else. It is a place where you are self-directing yourself. You are crafting everything that is in that image. I consider personal work to be important for a couple of reasons. The first reason I consider personal work super important is because it's a place where you can experiment, sort of try things out in a sandbox environment without any repercussions. You don't really want to do this in a client work because unless they encourage you to do so, they most likely hired you based off what they saw in your portfolio, and especially if they're asking for something similar, that's kind of like what they expect as a result from you when you complete the work. You don't want to, for example, you do something, you have like a really realistic artwork in your portfolio, and they hired you for that, and then suddenly you just did something really cartoony looking as an experimentation. That being said, there are chances that you can try that during the early stages as like sort of a different style take on the work that you've been done, but you certainly don't want to just work in the middle of illustration and suddenly deliver something completely different from what they expect. With client work, it can be really dependent on your client, but generally speaking, I think it's safe to say that the work you'll be doing will most likely be based off what they see in your portfolio. When you sort of do your own work, it's a place where you can really sort of slowly develop your artistic voice. And by that I mean like essentially your form of self-expression, where you implement everything that you love, experienced, and just observed into your artwork. Sometimes that can be a very sort of long process. Sometimes for some people it doesn't necessarily come together 100% straight away. You sort of have to slowly implement it as time goes by. It's not easy putting yourself into your artwork. I know for some this comes more naturally than others, but I think a good majority of us definitely struggle because it's kind of putting ourselves out there. It's putting ourselves in a vulnerable spot. Creating personal work also helps get you work if you're interested in pursuing this as a career. You can also get work from doing client work, and if given permission, you can use it as your portfolio piece, and that's fine as well. I personally find that when you do your own work, because it is 100% in your own direction, your own favor, sometimes the work can come out much stronger, at least in terms of self-expression, than the client work. This is definitely not always the case. Sometimes if you work with some really wonderful clients that help push your development as an artist as well as fulfilling their needs, then you can certainly get something invigorating from that as well. But I sometimes feel some of the best work I've seen from some artists are definitely more from their personal work than their client work. At the end of the day, what people see in your portfolio is most likely what they want to hire you for. And if you have a lot of work that you've done during your years of study, let's say, that may not necessarily be 100% the direction you want to go for, perhaps you were unsure during those times, which is pretty normal. I was the same as well. You'll probably have a portfolio that could probably get you a job, but might not be exactly what you want to do. So as a result of that, sometimes it can be necessary for some artists to essentially redo their portfolio into a direction that they really want, maybe a certain style or new outtake that they perhaps weren't happy with when they graduated. Regardless, I think whether or not you're happy with the work that you've done when you graduate, you should always be working on new work if you haven't got any client work, because we all grow, and our tastes change as artists as we mature, and what we liked back then may not be the same. And so it's important for this growth to be reflected in the work that you have available for people to see. I also find that like when you do your own work, it sort of prevents yourself from getting into a creative burnout. I find this can happen a lot when you constantly work on other people's projects, like commissions or other client work, because you're trying to fulfill their dreams, fulfill what they require for their IP or their needs, and not your own. Even if you did fully enjoy the project, I feel like it doesn't necessarily fulfill your own needs 100%. And so the only way to do that is to set aside time for yourself to create your own artwork, or if it's not artwork, perhaps indulge in a creative activity that perhaps stimulates your creativity in a different way. Either way, I think giving yourself time to do something for yourself in a creative level can really keep your creative level energy up and running, especially during times when you're super busy. That being said, I can totally understand when you're under super tight deadlines. You are overbooked, or you have a lot on your plate that needs to be done. You might not have time for it. I totally get it. I've been there as well. And so during those times, you probably do have to put personal work on the side a little bit just to get that all done. But I think under normal circumstances, if you can at least insert a small block of time per day or a couple of times a week, like 20 minutes, 15 minutes, just do a little bit of your own work. That way, like, you'll always feel you're making progress with your own artwork, without feeling guilt of not doing any during like heavy client work, because we're not always going to have like 5-6 hours or a whole day to do a whole bunch of personal work. That's just not always possible. But I think certainly for most people, not too difficult to just insert a small block of time, when they have their schedule, when they have a schedule that is a bit more flexible. I think one of the great things about doing your own work is it's essentially making a brand for yourself, where the work is fully associated with you and not with another company or famous IP. And I think long-term wise, this can be very beneficial for you, because sometimes people will want to look for you based off the work that you've done for yourself. And if they want to hire you for the work that you've done for yourself, it will sort of tick more boxes as you do the job, because it will be more in the direction that you're looking to develop towards. I'm not saying that client work doesn't fulfill any of that. It certainly can, especially when you work on projects that are very exciting. But I think when it comes to sort of long-term development as an artist's career, because the work is your own, you can essentially do anything you want with it. You own everything about it. You can sell it, you can make an art book, or you can just use it as advertisement. Either way, it's really good form of exposure for yourself, for people to recognize you in the online social media, or just in the community in general. An example of this I can think of is Artgerm during his early days in DeviantArt. People recognize him a lot now for his fan art and his comic book work, but during the early days of DeviantArt, I actually known him through his Pepper project, where he used his character Pepper and redrew her in various different styles, and he became very popular and well known in the DeviantArt community for doing that. And that's how he became one of the bigger artists on that platform. And of course now, he's evolved that into what he does today. But I don't think he would have got to where he was today if he didn't do that personal project way back when. Another example is Peter Moorbacher. He is a fantasy artist who creates his own project called Angelarium, where he draws various angels in his own style or visualization or perception, he owns everything on that project, and he can essentially do whatever he wants. But people now recognize Peter for the work that he does there, more so than his old work with like companies like Magic the Gathering. Aside from building up recognition, it's just a place, it's a good thing to do to help develop your style. Because like I said earlier with Artgerm, I think when he did all those experimentations, it helped sort of cement his style that you kind of know today, because he experimented so much in development work. I know that I've been talking in a way where I feel like I'm talking down client work. That is definitely not the case. I'm just simply saying that whilst if you do a lot of client work, it's just important to sort of keep yourself in a healthy state of mind by doing some of your own stuff or your own creative activities that is not just work. I know a fair few people who can get really burnt out by just constantly going from task to task, from client to client, and sometimes it can really sap their creativity, their energy, their sort of natural curiosity of the world that they perhaps had when they was a child or early on in their career, because they're just so boggled down with doing a lot of client work. Because here's the thing, I think even if you did work in the company of your dreams, company that you've always wanted to work on, you probably will be satisfied a lot. It will tick a lot of boxes, which is great. There's no better place to work than the place of your dreams. But the thing about being human is that, what do you do then? We don't just get satisfied by fulfilling our dream and it ends there. We naturally evolve. We want more. We want something different. And for artists, the way we can do that is to constantly experiment, try things out. It doesn't necessarily even have to be artwork. Maybe you want to dabble in animation, music, maybe a YouTube channel. We just want the next thing, and just doing work for somebody else isn't going to fulfill that all the time. You have to spend a bit of your own time to do that. As a conclusion, that it's just an important thing for us to constantly keep doing whilst in our artistic career, to keep ourselves in that healthy state of mind of creativity, freshness, and just sort of curiosity that we all had as a child. I'm getting to a point where I'm probably starting to waffle now, so I think I'll close out here. Thank you very much for listening. I'm very curious to hear what other people have to say, so feel free to drop anything in the comments, or maybe things that you thought I missed. Either way, I'll be curious to know, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.